The year 10,191 is the setting for the film Dune. Now that they have discovered a great deal of the universe's mysteries, humans are exploring other planets. Various planets have transformed into distinct nations, all under the leadership of Shaddam Corino IV, a single Padishah emperor. Each of the planets has a house with a corresponding. Next, the action shifts to Caladan, a different planet under House Atreides' control. Paul, the Atreides prince, awakens from a reoccurring dream. He has breakfast with Lady Jessica, his mother, who belongs to the Bene Gesserit group. Members of the secretive sisterhood Bene Gesserit possess exceptional physical and mental skills. As a result, Jessica is also capable of mind control. Paul has received extensive instruction from her in the organization's disciplines. Paul thus possesses special abilities that he has not yet discovered, in addition to his ability to see into the future. Leto, the father of Paul and the Duke of House Atreides, has a crucial meeting with members of the Landsraad, the legislative body that represents all of the noble houses. Everyone in Atreides greets the VIPs who have arrived with a message from Emperor Shaddam himself in the evening. The Emperor desires Atreides to succeed House Harkonnen, who was just expelled from the Arrakis. He desires that the spice from Arrakis be mined by Leto and his army. Despite his concerns, Duke Leto complies with the Emperor's demands. Jessica observes Gaius Helen Mohiam, a representative of Bene Gesserit. Looking at Paul during the discussion, Leto seals the agreement to proceed to Arrakis by signing a seal with his ring, signaling the end of the meeting. The forces under Atreides are shown getting ready to depart for Arrakis in the scene that follows. One of the troop's bravest soldiers, Duncan, is also a personal friend of Paul's. Paul is concerned since he has been seeing visions concerning Duncan's passing in Arrakis. Duncan gives him his word that he would be alright, and departs for the planet in order to get ready for Paul and the family to arrive. In the scene that follows, Paul and his father Leto are shown conversing about a range of topics. Leto discloses that he intends to make friends with the Fremen, a group of people from Arrakis, rather than using the spice to get rich. He intends to treat the Fremen with respect, in contrast to the previous Duke Harkonnen, so they can be a useful asset to Atreides. Paul later practices a battle with Halleck, his associate. They possess a wrist device that envelops their body in a shield of defense. Halleck tells Paul to be cautious when they get to Arrakis because he fears the envious Harkonnen will attack them. In another location, the Duke Baron and his rebellious nephew Reuben converse about their final ship departing the Arrakis and passing the planet over to the Atreides. In the home of Harkonnen, the erstwhile ruler of Arrakis, the Emperor is made fun of by Reuben for removing them from Arrakis and giving it to the Atreides. However, he is taken aback when Baron discloses that the Emperor is genuinely plotting the Atreides' demise out of jealousy over their rising fame. When Leto and his crew are mining spices in Arrakis, the Emperor has them all killed. Jessica awakens Paul up when they arrive back to the Caladan, and drives him to the doctor to get his vital signs checked. As it happens, Paul's visions have reached to the attention of the Reverend Mother Gaius Helen Mohiam, who want to confirm if Paul is the one they have been waiting for. He puts a lot of effort into passing the impulse control test that she gives him by forcing him to put his hands on a box. Following Mohiam's departure, Jessica informs Paul that Bene Gesserit, a female group, has been quietly influencing politics for years. Additionally, they have been cautiously stepping outside of their family tree to conceive the one male who will be able to protect Arrakis from being exploited for its spices. Paul turns out to be the one they have been searching for, the Messiah of Arrakis, based on the test he recently completed. The very next day, Arrakis, Paul, Jessica, and their army set out for the planet and arrived at Arrakis. The local Fremen greet them warmly, having already been informed that Paul is their Messiah, a belief Paul himself regards as mere superstition. Later, while in his chamber, he finds out about the enormous sandworm that was discovered on Arrakis. The Fremen move erratically in the sand as a defense against it. A nasty insect appears from a wall and tries to murder Paul while he watches holograms. However, Paul comes to his own rescue just in time. Upon closer inspection, it is discovered that Paul was the target of a Harkonnen soldier who had been lurking in the walls. When Baron meets Mohiam, the scene changes. She is aware of the Emperor and Baron's scheme to harm Atreides, but she is unable to stop it as the Emperor has given the order. She does, however, beg Baron to spare Paul and Jessica's lives. Baron consents to follow her instructions, but says he will toss the two into the sand to be killed by sandworms. The officials gather back on Arrakis and Stilgar, its leader. Leto is gonna meet Stilgar as well. Leto invites him to collaborate with the Atreides, but Stilgar disparages him for stealing from their territory and not giving anything back to the local populace. Leto makes a pledge to never hurt the Sieches, so they part ways amicably. Leto and his group visit the spice sand that they will be mining the following day. They meet Dr. Liet Kynes, an Imperial environmentalist, and a Fremen. She examines the functionality of Leto's sand suit, which purports to turn bodily fluids like urine and sweat into drinking water. Even though it is Paul's first time wearing the suit, Kynes observes that he is familiar with Fremen style while inspecting Paul's outfit. She is reminded by this of a prophecy that their Messiah, albeit coming from a different land, will understand their way of life. Kynes thinks Paul is the one as well. They all depart to examine the spice sand after that. As they go about, they notice the sandworms moving toward the harvester that extracts the spice. A carrier is dispatched to lift the harvester and place it out of the worm's reach, so it appears to be a common issue. But the carrier's anchor breaks, making it incapable of raising the equipment. The 21-person crew within the harvester is going to come under attack from the worms. Leto acts swiftly, giving the command for everyone to bring their aircraft closer to the apparatus and bring the crew on board. Minutes before the worm hits, they land in the sand and save the team. But in the process, Paul detects hints of spice and has a vision. He is still lightheaded when he gets home, and the doctor determines it's an allergy. Paul, however, asserts that he knew it wasn't merely an allergy since he saw a Fremen girl in his vision. Additionally, he informs Jessica that she is expecting, but she brushes it off. After that, the action moves to the planet of the Imperial Army, where a battalion is getting ready to attack Atreides and murder Leto and his family. They go by the name of the Sardaukar Army, which is reputed to be the deadliest army in existence. Paul receives a prescription from the doctor to deal with his allergies when he returns to Arrakis. Paul is unaware that the doctor and Baron have struck a deal for the medication to render Paul comatose. Additionally, Leto and Jessica are given medication to help them sleep. Leto declines, but Jessica accepts it. After some time, they are attacked by Sardaukar's army. Leto discovers what is going on as he wakes up. However, the doctor strikes him with a dart before he can act, gradually rendering him comatose. Outside, the Sardaukar army surprises the Atreides army by wreaking havoc in the area. The Sardaukar quickly defeat the Atreides because they are twice as numerous and equipped with multiple weapons. Simultaneously, the physician informs an injured Leto that Baron has kidnapped his spouse, so he must follow his instructions. After that, the doctor gives Paul Leto's ring by taking it off. In addition, he implants a dangerous molar tooth in Leto's jaw, warning that if he bites it too hard, the gas it secretes will kill everyone in its path. Paul and Jessica are kidnapped by the Sardaukar army and dumped in the sand. In the meantime, Paul wakes up in an airplane, his mother bound and gagged next to him. She has the ability to control others and force them to follow her instructions. Thus, the two are able to slay their kidnappers by using their powers. Paul discovers a Fremkit that the doctor has given them. They then make their getaway across the middle of the desert. Leto, who is unconscious, is brought to Baron and undressed in the interim. The physician requests that Baron set his wife free, but instead he is brutally murdered. Leto is then informed by Baron that his lineage will cease today. Leto, realizing there is no way out, snaps his jaws and releases a deadly gas that kills everyone in the room, including himself. Paul and Jessica use the kit to erect a tent somewhere. They also discover Leto's ring and a doctor's note. The two break down in tears, realizing Leto has passed away as they gaze at the ring. The next morning, Duncan goes up to the Fremen Imperial biologist Kynes and asks for her assistance in finding Paul and Jessica. Once the deadly gas has subsided, the soldier of the Baron returns to the room in his palace. They discover to their surprise that Baron has secured himself to the ceiling and is in some way secure. Concurrently, Paul experiences a hallucinogenic high from the spice in the sand and begins to have glimpses of the impending holy war. He imagines himself murdering millions of people, and the thought of the murders causes him to gasp. Jessica, who is concerned, soothes her kid. He dons his father's ring and becomes Duke of Atreides after a while. Duncan finds them quickly and kneels in front of Paul, addressing him as the Lord Duke. Then Kynes takes the three of them to a secure location. The location where they are residing is an abandoned ecological station that was meant to supply Arrakis with flowing water. Arrakis would have been a paradise if the initiative had been successful, but the spice was found in the sand before the project was finished. The endeavor was abandoned when Evrion's focus was shifted to gathering the priceless spice. The Sardaukar army arrives in the secure area later and launches an all-out assault on everyone. Duncan risks everything to save Paul and Jessica. Paul cries for him to stop since he has seen Duncan die in a vision, but Duncan refuses to move in order to finish his assignment. He is ultimately slain in battle against the soldiers, but Jessica, Paul, and Kynes escape. Paul and Jessica board a small aircraft with just 2 seats. Kynes, in the meantime, requests that they travel south to see the Fremen, who will support them in their cause. She intends to leave one station and board an aircraft. The mother and boy take out, but the Sardaukar soldiers quickly catch Kynes. She starts to pound the ground rhythmically, indicating that they are preparing to kill her. One sandworm kills them all at once after becoming attracted to the commotion. Two enemy aircraft then begin pursuing Paul's aircraft. Paul plunges their car into a violent sandstorm, leading their adversaries to think they have perished. Baron is shown taking a medicinal bath in the scene that follows in order to treat the damage he sustained from the deadly gas. When his nephew Ruben gets there, he informs him that Leto has passed away, along with his lineage. Now that his enemy's home has been destroyed, Baron is at last relieved and gives Ruben the command to keep gathering spices and eliminating all men. Paul and Jessica crash land in the desert somewhere else, but they survive. After donning the desert suit, they set out to find the Fremen and request assistance from them. Paul was aware of the lifestyles of the Fremen and how they walk to keep the worms away. Throughout the entire day that they walk, Paul sees images of Fremen people and a particular girl encouraging him to keep going. The two take a little break to rest when they hear a loud noise. Paul becomes aware of the presence of a sandworm. They begin to flee in an attempt to save their lives, but the worm follows them even more quickly. It appears from the sand, ready to swallow the two, but it stops in the middle. To aid them, someone had set off a thumper. At that moment, they are surrounded by Stilgar, the Fremen leader, and his group. It soon becomes clear that their goal is to murder Paul and Jessica in order to obtain their bodily fluids. Saying that Paul is the Messiah they were informed about, Stilgar stops his troops. The others reject him, claiming that since Paul hasn't shown his mettle thus far, he can't be the Messiah. One of them calls Jessica weak and old, insulting her. By keeping the man captive and putting his life in danger, she establishes her own worth. The leader then gives the order for everyone to proceed to the Siege Tabor, where Paul and Jessica's future will be decided. At that moment, the girl Paul had been seeing walks up to him and calls herself Chani. One of the Fremen, Jamis, demands a duel with Paul as they are about to depart. According to Fremen tradition, a duel must result in a death. Having trained all of his life, Paul easily defeats Jamis, but he is hesitant to murder him because he has never killed anyone before. Finally, Paul ends the struggle by stabbing the man to death. After that, the others load the corpse and head toward the Siege Tabor. When Paul witnesses a man riding a huge sandworm at the end of the film, Chani informs him that this is just the beginning. The movie's conclusion indicates that the sequels will contain a lot more content.